Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Um, it's 99 time. I have a couple of minutes left. So I decided to go ahead and read the Quran while laying on my side, but for some reason I ended up at this verse and it's almost like it's talking to me. Um, in the understanding is what I mean, not, you know, in any other manner. But I'm going to ultimately leave it up to Allah, undeniably, in what He meant this as. And of course, there's many different studies on this chapter, you know. So I'm going to keep the tafsir and the sira and, scholars. I'm going to keep everyone on the planet and everything on the planet on the side for a second. And I want to show you something which is, it's just study, right? We're just studying, we're just discussing. It's just a different perspective for you to look at. Okay, so it's just 17 verses, so we'll go through them together. Okay, so it's chapter 86 of the Al-Quran. And it's just something different and it's cool. It's discussion, right? By the sky, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, sorry, it's a long day. By the sky and the night comer. I don't know why, but this is what was inspired to me. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay. To come by night, beat something, knock, strike. One who comes or appears by night, morning star that comes at the end of the night. Night visitant, star, tarikan, way, path, line of conduct or behavior. Okay. Morning star, I just feel like this surah has something to do with, it's almost like it's talking to me. Like when I say inspire, it's almost like it's talking to me. And I'll connect them so you can perhaps maybe see a different perspective. It's just something to think about. This, you know how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says two, He's the Lord of the two, two easts and the two wests and the two suns, basically, right? So in that essence, we understand that when we see the sun rise from the other side, right? Now, that, for the majority of the world could just mean sun, right? Another sun. Or it could just be the sun itself, right? Something occurs, our axis, our axis shifts, or, we we have our pole shifts, everything wobbles, the whole, like in terms of you get the whole apocalyptic scene, right? And in terms of, we see the sunrise from the other side. But suppose, like I said, there's a system of God in how He sends His books, right? There's a system of God in how He sends His messengers. There's a system of God in how He creates things. And that was in one of the previous broadcasts where His system, for the mind, for the soul, for the spirit, for the body is in the same process. So just assume for a second that the previous beasts, Okay, the dinosaurs were destroyed by a comet. Okay, by a comet. Now, that comet, obviously, is almost like a sun because it would be that big for it to have an impact. Okay, and a sun or a slash comet is still a star, right? Still a star. And I want you to check this out here. Okay, just check it out. We're gonna open it back up. Man, I really gotta head to bed too. I had such a long day. Right? Look at what it says in Arabic in the root words. Star. Okay? Go back and it says morning star that comes at the end of the night. Also signifying, obviously, the sun is for the morning. It is a morning star. Okay? So it's almost like there's multiple meanings of that, and it's almost as if it's telling you it would come by night. No one knows the hour, but if it were to come, suppose it does. Suppose it does. It can come by night. Who knows, right? Maybe there's the descriptions of it. Maybe these are what we see in those what is it called, American Idol broadcasts. I don't know, I'm not gonna go conspiracy crazy right now. It's too late to do that. Anyhow, by the sky and the night comer. Who knows? Let's keep going. And what can make you know what the night comer is? Again, wait, are we in the same word? Yep. And what can make you know what the night comer is? Like, pretty much, like, what can they make you try to understand as to what that star or that morning star to come, and it says, by night. What is that? Like, what can make you understand what that is? Look what it says next. It is a star of piercing brightness. Let's look at the piercing. Okay. Let's look at Najm as well. To appear, rise, begin, accomplish, ensue, proceed. Okay. Cool. Let's look at the piercing. Okay. A hole to pass through. Okay, to pass through. Okay. Pierce, puncture. So just imagine if this, sun that we call it slash star slash comet, because they're all synonymous, right? Well, in appearance, the comet would look like a sun. Okay. But it's still a star. Okay. And if a comet were to come, what would occur? It would peer, if it were, even if it were to pass by, right? Suppose it even has a trail of, a trail of rocks or a tail of rocks. Okay. Or even if it were to come itself, it would perforate or pierce or puncture the earth. And it would be intense. That's another word. Intense. Surge. It would be a burning, blazing, flamingly, or flame brightly. That comet right? That sun, that slash star would burn, it'd be a burning star, a burning comet, a blazing comet, a flamingly bright comet, as if it were to pierce through the night, ascend, reach, penetrate. Okay, penetrate. Hold on. Man. Penetrate. Fuel for fire. A man very red. Okay. Could even make you red, right? Looking at it. Oh, man. Interesting. And then, let's move forward. Not is every soul, but over it is a protector. Can this be talking about those whom are keeping our accounts, right? But let's see. Let's see. To preserve, guard, protect a thing, take care of a thing, prevent a thing from perishing. To be careful, manful, regardful, attentive, considerate, to keep a thing, okay? To put in store, retain a thing, learn a thing by heart, commit to memory, to remember, to defend, keep a thing from getting lost, to be observant or watchful, okay? Apply oneself assiduously, constantly, preservingly, vigilant or heedful, to anger a person or be angered. Okay. Not for every soul is over it a... So I guess you can say either... You can say for... Well, this is it's supposed to be a good word, hafizun, right? So I guess we could just refer this to those whom keep our records, and so then it continues to say, so let's see man from what he is created. It's almost like a, kind of like, it's kind of like, obviously, it's a couple of things. It's more of like, oh, like, let's see what you're about, as you're being tested. Let's see what you're about, Obviously, you have your, you have your malaika with you, whom can do two things. One, it keeps your records, okay? But two, there is no guardian over you, but if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands it to, kind of like, how do I say this? If something bad were to occur to you, then, who would he send in that sense? Like if things need to get done, usually they always happen through man. But, if mankind isn't there, right? For example, you know how sometimes we have things absolutely feel like miraculously things occur to us, right? Or when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about his battle trained, angels, or the unseen forces that are there, like they're there, you understand? Like they're there. Like when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with the companion in the cave, and then the unseen forces were there, you understand? As kind of like, you know, kind of like a backup in a way, if you think about it, right? So in that same manner, it's like they're able to do two things for us. Obviously, no one can guard and protect you, but in the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if such a thing were to occur, just like at the time of death, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the angels to comfort at the time of death as well, right? Astaghfirullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't come down himself. He uses, his farishta that are created to carry out his works. So obviously, they do a few things for him. So it's kind of like Allah is also asking, like, yeah, let's see what you're about. But also it's several things. It's also, like in terms of, like how you were created. Okay, like you need to know, like to the extent of the detail he's gonna give to you right now. Okay, wait. He is created from a water ejected. Okay, so let's see. It is, well, I didn't even, okay, I was talking about it. Never mind. He is created from a water ejected. Understood. But now it should be telling you where it's, should go on to saying where it is. Coming forth from between the backbone and the ribs. This should be talking about the tail, through anatomy, I think it's called a tailbone. It's the one bone that is literally almost like indestructible. Like it is literally indestructible. It is the one bone, like I said, it's probably like almost like indestructible. Like it's almost like that. That is where I believe is the sperm is kept too, if I'm correct. That's what it says. Well, and it says coming forth from between the backbone and the ribs. So let's just say if the sperm is held in the tailbone, it comes forth and shoots out from there, obviously. Right? It shoots out. He's created from a drop emitted. So it comes out from the tailbone. Cool. I think I'm going okay so far. I don't know. Okay, let's continue. I gotta go to sleep too. So let's see. Indeed, he to return him is able. Self-explanatory. He created. That's like a no-brainer. The day will be tested the secrets. Okay, let's use this word too. Okay. Okay. I guess you could also say for all those people who thought they could get away with things, in the sense that, all those people that were concealing, things in terms of what they were about, what they were doing. Just give me a second. I need to put the charger in. I don't want it to go away since I'm already recording. Okay. Okay. So it's I see how beautiful this is. It's both. It's for the believers whom are of the very few. That's why it's not, I guess, the perfect word that would be first, for most would be, because the majority of the people are wicked. It's those people whom concealed, they thought that God wouldn't be able to see what they're doing, or they weren't mindful of what they were doing. So they thought, okay, they could do whatever they want. They could, they could just go on about doing whatever they want, and they weren't being watched, thus thinking that they were able to hide whatever they were doing, or that nobody would be able to notice what it is that they were doing, right? So that's why the word conceal would actually have been the best choice to utilize. But then what happens? It's also a day where the believers are also comforted, even though if they do, obviously, also, obviously have to account such a thing, then undeniably they also would be happy to know, as a portion of, I think, a part of the one of the ayats is that they would be happy to know that the promise of their Lord has come true. So it is only for those believers that are the believers. They know, like, they don't, you can't say they know necessarily. Nobody knows really, but I mean, you would slightly kind of surely know for surety that if you've been trying and trying and sincerely really been trying. But of course, we hold to that day because, Allahu Alam, in terms of whom he accepts, whom he doesn't, because he, at the end of the day, he still can do what he pleases, but he has a system, and he is of his word. So it's almost like it is a feeling of happiness and joy to know that the Lord's word is also coming true, just as promised, because we know that it was only for a day that he had sent us, right? The day will be tested the secrets. Okay, so all your secrets that you concealed, all these things. Let's see the word tested. Okay, try, prove, or test by good or evil. See? Okay. To become old and worn out, wear and tear, not caring. Okay, I've seen this before. Basically, you're striving. Okay, so if you led a life of goodness, then that's a proceeding of joy. And if you led a life of, not caring, minding, heeding, regardless, or paying attention, okay, not caring, then, and then keeping secrets, concealing, doing all these things that you're doing, then that's a recompense for that, right? Then not is for him any power and not any helper. Obviously, no one can help you that day. Unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. If you're a good person, then at that time you most likely will be comforted, by those who keep your accounts. That's the only thing that can occur. But other than that, no one can help you on the day of, you understand? By the sky which returns. Okay, let's look at the word. Let's look at the word returns. Okay. To return, turn back, turn off. Upon anyone come back. Repeat, answer, bring answer, be brought back. One who returns, return, termination. Okay, terminate. That would be the word. A better way. Why? Because it's talking about the skies again. Remember, on such a day anyways, right? The retribution will be brought forth. And the earth which cracks open. So you see the similarities? In other places you will see that it says, look, wal samai, which is also talking about the day of the retribution, right? When when the heavens will be brought, when the sky will turn, to a color which is like the sun, right? It becomes, or not the sun. What was it called? It was called. We read it in one of the broadcasts. It would be like the color of thank God for being inspired. The color. Shukr alhamdulillah. The color of molten copper. Okay, the color of molten copper. Okay, I think something like that. It was molten copper, and then that's how the skies will turn in terms of the color, right? And then the skies will be cracked open, right? So you see that by the sky which returns. And what do you mean? What does it mean by returning? I think the better word for it would be terminate, because it would crack open. So, that's it. It's the skies are done for at that moment, right? It's going to crack open. Okay. And the earth which cracks open. So the earth will be cracking open too. Okay. And I wonder, in terms of the earth cracking open, is in terms of, is it talking about the great earthquakes, or is it talking about the what's it called? Kind of like the lake of fire, because that's exactly what it's described as. Remember, I think I also showed you, because they use the term of lake of fire from the Injil, but the description of the lake of fire is also in the Quran, where it talks about the boiling liquid. In terms, it's the same thing in terms of the description, exact same thing. So you could even call it lake of fire. Right? So I don't know if it's that, or if it's the pits opening up, in order, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, by our forelocks we'll be like thrown into it. So I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's the earth being cracked open, and, suppose say if that's the portion of Jahannam, or if it's, just the earth's being cracked open, as in like earthquakes and being swallowed and all that stuff like that. Like, just trying to paint a picture here. Obviously, nobody wants to paint a picture of retribution, but just assumingly so, just discussion wise, comet comes, what's it called? Obviously, there's impacts, and due to those impacts, we already know this type of seismic activities that the world is already facing in terms of that. So if a comet comes through, of course we know we have chaos, like in terms of water and overturned oceans, but obviously we have land. We will be facing, in a huge ordeal, we'd be facing earthquakes without a doubt. Huge land masses, huge land masses cracking and opening up. Thus could even be earthquakes, right? Who knows? I don't know. Indeed, it surely is a word decisive, as in obviously this is decreed. The judgment had been priorly decreed. I mean, the day of Yom al-Qiyamah, the day of retribution, the day of his promise to come, is already determined. Alhamdulillah. And not, it is for amusement. Obviously this wasn't done because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted amusement or entertainment, or this is so funny. There was a discussion prior to earlier today regarding this. Okay. To be thin and lean. Okay. Useless, fruitless, unprofitable, unproductive, vain, exhausted, joke, talk idle. Pretty much descriptions of it. Even if you lived a life of striving towards goodness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not unprofitable at all. It's not, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, your deeds don't go to waste, right? He has something in return for the believers, as a gift, as a compassion, as a mercy of his. And in terms of so unprofitable and fruitless would be in the same category. Obviously, there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being compassionate enough to give Jannah, right? And obviously it's not fruitless, which means it's fruitful of your works, right? Your works would be fruitful. It's not unproductive, which means that there's nothing else better for them to do, right? I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and, the farishtas and everything else that had occurred in history throughout time. So it's a day that he had decreed, forgiveness to Adam alayhi salam. And after that, a test to actually see if, people really mean it. And it's not just, oh, okay, after we were the ones that made the mistake. So it's not like it's unproductive, right? Or it's in vain, like it's useless, right? Or it's a joke, like it's not a joke, like it's serious, right? It's not like useless talk, It is not a thing for amusement. So the day of retribution wasn't for amusement. You understand? So it says, indeed, they're plotting a plot. Who is plotting a plot? Do you want to know? Obviously. Undeniably, I think a portion of it is obviously Iblis. But again, you can't even blame Iblis on that day, right? You can't blame Iblis on that day. It's also the wicked, right? The shayateen amongst mankind and jinn, those whom are inclined towards the evil. They are plotting a scheme, right? So they've always, been trying to make those whom submit distracted. They've been trying to distract them from becoming believers, because to become a believer, you also have a system, right, to become a believer. And they're trying to make you reject. They're trying to make you influence to fall for what they're into. You understand? To fall for what they're into. Because a lot of them do know what they're doing and what they're up to. It's just I feel bad for the people that don't know what really is to come. Like, some of them are completely heedless. They really don't understand the severity, and those are the people that I feel worst for. And that's a huge majority. Those are people that you've spent your lives with, and they're being deceived. And God said from before, don't be deceived, don't fall. He's an open enemy to you. So it's from those people who are of mankind and jinn that are shayateen. They are obviously plotting these things to take you out of your state. And you can't even say plotting, because it might go over your head, but they're always up to something. Maybe, I mean, it could be a billion and one things. It could be like, oh, they are off to a party, and they want to go to drink, and they want to go to hang out, or they want to go to, or even do adulterous things, and they don't want to go alone. They want to take you too. They want to take you out of your state of piety and goodness and inclinations of remembering God and following his system. Okay. So obviously they are, as for them, they are plotting a scheme. They're always plotting a scheme. It's not even a question. They're always plotting a scheme. Those whom, disbelieve and turn away, they don't want you to believe. They want a world of self-glory. They want a world without God and his laws. You understand? But then God says, but I am planning a plan. So what are they doing? Theirs is a scheme, I think. No, theirs is plot. So they're pretty much plotting a plot, right? A plot. So it's something for you to almost to fall into a ditch, if you think about a plot. Well, but then God is like the master of the day of judgment, right? The mastermind. So he says, but I am planning a plan. Okay. So I give respite to the disbelievers. And then it says, give respite to them a little. Okay. Now, what is this word respite? To act gently or softly, act in a leisurable manner, leave one alone, or grant one delay or respite. So that's exactly what's happening, right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said for Musa al-Islam to go to Fir'aun, Musa al-Islam was told to give a gentle word. So what do you think is happening in the dunya? There are uncountable people that are uttering disgusting, spiteful words and doing atrocities in the whole entire planet. But what's happening? God is being gentle to them because he knows what the warning that he gave to you was of the truth, and you didn't pay heed to it. He sent you warners, and that's what he talks about. He sent you warners, but you didn't pay heed to it, in the sense that God was gentle and kind. He sent you warnings. He sent you books. The goodness was there. He was gentle. He was soft. You weren't. You mocked it. You scoffed it. You turned away. You got distracted with everything else in the planet but the goodness that he gave you. The gentleness he gave you, the softness he gave you, the truth he gave you, the system he gave you, everything that he gave you at your service. And no, you didn't, and the fact that he's ever, he's ever merciful, compassionate until the day of. That's it. That's what I think is the connection to the surah. These are inspired to me by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but how can they not be inspired? Think about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says, if you stay up at night, okay, this is past my bedtime, by the way, and you read the Quran, a heavy word will come down upon you. So while everyone else is sleeping and you're up during the time you're supposed to be sleeping, and you make that struggle or strive to want to know God's word, he will descend them upon you. And I really think that this is what the surah means according to the descending of the heavy word, the word of Allah, the understanding of Allah. This is the understanding of the word. So I think this is what it is. And I do believe this is what it is. I don't think anymore. I believe this is what it is, especially, as I started to go across towards the end, and then I started to connect all the other verses, about the constant reminders in the Quran about the day of retribution. This is exactly what it is. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. This is what it's talking about. So, Allahu Alam. Anyways, so I'm going to say Allahu Alam, right? I'm going to say good night. I'm out. This is surah number 86. This is the truth. I don't say I'm truthful. I just say that I'm trying to give you the truth. That's all. That's all. I'm just trying to give you the truth, and I'm trying to give it to you in the best manner that I can. That's all I know. And as for the rest, I know that this stuff isn't online. They talk about a whole bunch of things, but this stuff ain't online. And you would wonder why, my channel is at where it's at, even though I started this off as a documentation. The reason why it's at where it's at is because of the sharing of the ilm. I mean, trust me, you ain't gonna get it like this anywhere else. It's Allah's been kind. That's all. Allah's just been kind. He's been kind to everybody. And all you gotta do is just, all you gotta do is just have sincerity and wanting to know, wanting to improve your condition before that hour comes. You understand? So anyhow, Good night to you. Peace be upon you. Allah Hafiz.